go! Another little cut, crack party and jump some butt. So come on.
Look, this is it's my new tool shirt. Bottom's not a burden anyone should bear. So here's the dispensary technician course section on dealing with stock. As you can see, this is the section from the dispensary course on dealing with stock. There's some new stock coming in just now. We're just dealing with it. If this is the stock you're looking for, you're in for urine for urine. Dealing with stock. Other than that, the bathroom's rather clean. We got lined up all my shaving razor blades, and there's my shaving cream, gel, saline for treating my nasal cyst. Cool. Yeah, that Star Trek episode with the aliens and they found money in some show they were watching. It's very scattered. So yeah, in the Star Trek episode, those aliens had learned about this scam thing, so every time they tried to talk about it, the files get deleted from hacks. So I couldn't even really say, you know, there's information here if you are clever. annoying, you know. Well, they were annoyed. Squawk, squawk, squawky, squawky. Happiness is seldom found. Pop a pill. I'm so very happy now. Happiness is seldom found. Pop a pill. I'm so very happy now. So, you know, leaving Capital Chemist really has nothing to do with unfinished business or any controversy or anything for me to be ashamed of, really, in my personal life. I can genuinely say that dealing with Roger Toll involves constantly being put through the hoops of not being allowed to be me. And that's not because of, the journey to find and embrace some abstract inner homo whose responsibility comes from the rebellion against his own sexuality, to use Roger's words. It is honestly and sincerely. Roger Toll does not permit me to be me. It would not permit me to be me. So I had to deal with what that felt like all the time. So a person will get tired of that. Some people have left Capital Chemist because the base retail award wage is, they'll go to a conference and Gary will say, why not join this salary sacrifice initiative, because everyone has to make sacrifices. Some people feel that the base retail award wage in a chemist, where you say morally you're not in retail at all, is a big enough sacrifice in itself. And for me, not being allowed to be me, it was like a sacrifice. So, and since Roger Toll insists that art's so morally prescriptive, and that I'm on a journey to discover an inner homo, I played Elton John and he was singing "It's No Sacrifice," so it really confused me. I guess I don't know what matters. But there's some, I just recently urinated on my tech assignments again. So maybe that we knows what matters. Dirty riffs, dirty beats, dirty samples. Sell a show, take the money, then we cancel. Yeah, I think seeing is believing is it's a lazy person's principle. It's the principle of someone who underthinks. You're not supposed to just go around believing in everything you see. It's weird. It's a very, very weird idea. I don't really abide by it at all. It means don't be critical. I support free thinking and critical thinking. You know, the word free is only really meaningful if you comprehend yourself as being free from a particular limit that could otherwise be imposed. So the price for being a free thinker is also knowing how to be a critical thinker. Otherwise you wouldn't have the right mind to know what limits you're free from. So it's a bit like the price you have to pay to enjoy free thinking. I need to get to America soon. As soon as I can. So soon enough, the conversations in the public enter the public arena about the state of affairs, whereby companies will take out hits on people. Instead of talking about government hiding knowledge of UFOs from us, these corporations need to be talked about instead. Obviously, some of them have, like pharmacy company owners, have some sort of handshake with certain media channels. I would estimate that Roger Toll is a friend of Rupert Murdoch. I can just imagine Roger flocking to him because Murdoch sounds like murder, and he would have been excited to have an arrangement with him. I think it's pretty self-evident that mainstream status quo media channels answer to religious people. More or less resonates in every sort of type of show. Another deleted video. Yeah, so during my time working for Capital Chemist, it kept being brought to my attention that I would be observed while watching Doppelhers. Physically, I wasn't even moving. The company interpreted it as a dangerous, a piece of art promoting dangerous ideas, which, for instance, the line, you're nothing but a screen that I will project my images of sorrow, pain. To me, that line is all about the rejection of the crucifixion, the hatred towards the crucifixion, that it should not have happened. So, embracing dead Jesus does not factor into our sense of romance or interaction. We don't sleep with people and say, oh Jesus, oh Jesus. That's, I think it's disrespectful. It was mistreated. Also, the line, each time someone believes what I say, I become a lie. Roger Toll would spy on me watching the film and preclude that I was in favor of believing in telling lies, where that line simply means question everything I'm saying. These clips that I'm putting on YouTube, would want people to question them. It's fine. So it's not saying believe in lying. This is what they get for spying on someone's room unwantedly. You know, they think at any moment I'm going to make a strike or a criminal move. Because they pretty much think like pedos. Yeah, and so for the theories that I guess Gavin Hepburn has harbored certain times, it's probably more realistic to suppose that there was a moment between him and his brother Rowan. He touched his balls or something. You don't grow an ethic where you think you have to spy on people while they're alone in their room, and, you know, wig them out, telling them about it. You wouldn't want to do that unless you've intruded somehow. You think intrusion is a good thing. So maybe he did play with his brother Rowan's balls and shaft and ass. I don't want to think about it, but it's being observed is a offense. Unwantedly being observed is an offense. So, one fascinating aspect of the human mind is what scientists will call the placebo effect. It's when essentially, like, you could have a tablet and give the tablet 30 tablets out to 30 people, but 10 of them have no drug in it. And sometimes people in that 10 will say, "Whoa, I feel so much better," but they did not get an active substance. They got a placebo. It's like passing off oregano as weed in high school, and to a 7th grader, and they say, you know, "Whoa, I'm so stoned." So the placebo effect, I think it means to a scientific mind, suspend judgment and make further observations. But as far as a drug's effectivity goes, if the patient has to think about what the pharmacy team think of them for being on a particular drug, in addition to taking the drug.
Hey, let's go. We're gonna go.
Do they? No.
So you meditate on doppelgangers and you'll think about
I don't mind doing it.
stopping.
No, I'm just saying hypothetically, no one does it.
Well, the ways in which babble and talk about economic gains can get in the way of proactive humanism. And people incur losses and suffer just because someone else wants to make money.
I'm going mad.
And obviously being rejectful of that.
Yeah, right.
Means double-hearted. Double-hearted.
Always come out here like a fucking sandwich.
So once again, the summary of Christianity is incestuous, violent biphobia. 3 words to sum it up. So I'm arguing the Christians have got it wrong to believe in the contents of the Bible. It's like a rival book. The book is like a rival to you. Why would you not protest that you inbred? That your ancestors had sisters and brothers and sisters having babies in the garden. Why would you not be offended and then protest that story? Because the Queen said it. If the Queen said, jump off a cliff, you know, that old adage. Yeah. Yeah. Everyone has AIDS. Your sister and your grandma too. The Pope has got it and so do you. Everyone has AIDS, 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 AIDS. Ta-da! So the ones who stand to be called out on an ideological cause for which they could be martyred is actually Roger and Gary and their Freemason rubbish. They can be martyred. You watch them run around because they're not acknowledging that Matthew, Luke and John Gospels are forgeries. And they're trying to use them as proof that martyring Jesus is the right thing to do. So they actually don't comprehend, you know, if there's a story about him flying over the moon, it's probably bullshit. And they actually don't get that. They're like, let's use these as evidence against him. So because of it, they fang around going, oh, is this a forged script? Is that a forged script? Fucking look at your own scriptures. Those 3 Gospels are forged. If you admit they're forged, you won't be calling every second script a fucking forged script, will you? Dumb Masons. I'll marty you to the States and Australia. So yeah, if the Freemasons don't want to acknowledge that the Gospels of Matthew, Luke and John are forgeries, and therefore the claim that Jesus was an ideological martyr means you're opposing what's been known for 200 years, that scribes interpolated and essentially drafted and wrote his teachings in Matthew, Luke and John based on the Gospel of Mark. So they build on Mark's content, but they put words in his mouth. Gary and Roger surely wouldn't know anything about putting words in people's mouths, would they? So as I was saying before, the placebo effect, fascinating because
Get off this footpath, there's a lot of people coming.
there's
Go through the drains, go through the drains.
a story about
Well, it doesn't matter, it's alright.
Manson going into a cage with a baboon.
It's better than walking on the footpath.
And so, like, what I think could happen is, you know, you could just eye off the baboon in the cage and calmly enter. And as Manson did, he just stood next to the baboon and the baboon didn't hurt him. They just coexisted together. But if a zookeeper were to say, like, this is a vicious animal, then you would get scared and your adrenaline's pumping. And because you're in a fearful mode, the baboon gets set off too. So the whole teaching that the animal's dangerous.
You alright, brother?
Yep.
I thought you were going to fall in the pond, mate. I was going to collect you.
Ironically, the teaching of the animal is dangerous winds up being the reason that there's an altercation, and the animal acts dangerously. You could be chilled around the animal, and the animal will be chilled too.
Oh, mate, don't ever.
So a paradoxical question thank you. Paradoxical question I've always loved is how can we know what reality is insofar as we observe it to exist external to ourselves, or compared with we create it and build it? And both statements are true in various respects. That's what living is. And that's also a great source of wonder. There's truth to saying we create our own realities, and there's truth to saying reality is outside us and beyond us. See, all of these concepts are truly interesting, and none of them require me telling you that we come from supernatural incest in a garden. Yeah, so, you know, is it a coinkydink that Queen Elizabeth II loves that Bible so much, and how many invasions has she favoured? How many other countries and continents has she borne hostility towards? There'd be no interest in doing that. You know, it's possible that white men could have come here, negotiated peacefully with the Aboriginals, and come to a consensus. Did that happen in history? No. You had a mix of slave owners and convicts being dumped here because the UK was too full. Oh. Okay then, bye bye now.
Let's go, baby.
So Bowie is lost to us now, baby. And the difference that he has made, we must make sure that it isn't lost. So the question I've been musing on is whether the safekeeping of the future flourishing of the bisexual rights movement means the overthrowing of the claims of Christian theistic churches.
Hey, Luke, when you cross here, just be careful, okay? Because no,
Yeah.
it's really slip on your ass. Just go slow.
Yeah.
This way.
This way.
No. This way.
I see. Sorry.
Don't fucking make
Sorry,
me
man.
rush.
Sorry.
I sit on my ass the other fucking day. It ain't fucking pretty.
So yeah,
I ain't pissed.
because the bisexual rights community is very gentle and tolerant of other people, twice as tolerant as any other person would be of anyone else. So it's always, of course we will meet and talk to Christians who are not theists, who aren't fervently violating the rights of others. And they are the ones who will want to say it is not the religion that's building these disturbed and depraved, deviant criminal minds, because how come they're not being criminal? They're the ones saying that. But what they don't get is that the religion can genuinely teach you, well, fuck off the rights charter, and just God wants you to drown the kids in the bath. Yo, you don't want to be on the film. Well, you do. This is Graham. YouTube, this is Graham. Yeah, so my question concerning advancing the bisexual rights movement, I essentially worked out we could destroy Christianity by fulfilling it at the same time, because we could boil down the stories.
Come on, brother, let's go.
Yep. Can boil down the stories down to the truth of them, as I have told you about why we reject the Genesis story of origins, why we reject the crucifixion. And these are naturalistic interpretations.
Did you fucking film me?
No, I'm not. I'm filming me.
You filming me?
No. Oh, filming me.
You film yourself.
Yeah, my basic idea is the paradox of destroying Christianity by fulfilling its basic claims and assertions, with naturalistic takes on what is being endorsed potentially by the theologians, but you respond with a naturalistic account of what they have said, as to why you're rejecting it, why you would reject being inbred from the Garden of Eden, or why you would reject the crucifixion. And the responses will be so well forged that so well marshaled that the theologians will go,
Jeezy, fuck Jesus.
like unless they quit their jobs as priests, they'll be pretending that you weren't more impressive than their educators, because nature is nature.
Music.
A priest's a part of nature. What I think, how interesting that some of the priests that misbehave simultaneously have made a celibacy promise.
My birthday. I went the N-word, did I? N-I-G-G-A.
Yeah, and
This fucking song corrupts my mind. Yeah, the juice man, fuck Jesus.
bisexual rights movement embraces nature better than any other movement.
Alright, you've just recorded me.
No, I haven't.
Yes, you have.
It's turned on me.
Bullshit.
See? Look at that. That's me. Look at
You need
that.
to record. No.
You're not on this. Fuck me.
Well, no money. Unless I say every video.
So these Freemasons are not intelligent enough to investigate their own shit and recognize it as yesterday's breakfast. You know? Do they deserve to be private investigators? No. They're lucky they got away with being a privatized church. Be there. So these Freemasons would not be smart enough to investigate their own feces and shit on the toilet and concluded it was yesterday's breakfast. So are they fit to investigate you and me? No. They are lucky to have gotten away with being a secretive church. They're pushing it, bringing 16th century techniques into this modern day, thinking they can investigate the ACT. So the loss of David Bowie is something that is pretty much too profound to know how to really feel about it. For me, it has made me want to do something in his honor. And so, as I have explained in previous clips, the strongest force of attrition towards the bisexual rights movement, the most successful harbingers of attrition and oppression and mistreatment of the bisexual rights movement are theistic religious believers. Many of them even think that a bisexual person warrants being cured or fixed. So what I have worked out is that given the most academic interpretations of the Christian's Bible, it's actually more likely to say that Jesus of Nazareth was essentially a person in the 1st century who would have been one of us if he were alive now, and that it's more naturalistic and more likely and more realistic to argue that than it is to argue that he was an appointed savior or Messiah. My question in my book will be to the rest of the bisexual rights movement: do you think we should overturn Christian theism as a way to thank David Bowie? I watch Black Star, the Black Star music video every day. Yeah. So I'm thinking I will write a book that takes the strongest claims offered by religious supernaturalists and overturn them into essentially overturn them in favor of the naturalistic views that are held by bisexuals. Some of them will go, oh,
Are you fulfilling our religion? It won't be that. It'll include debunking it, explaining that the Bible is just contains stories that you would remember in order to help you fuel a series of human rights protests. Now we can talk about people believing in incest in the Garden of Eden and getting so aggressive that they will want to go to war. Or getting so sick of the stories of Adam and Eve and their children practicing incest for the sake of the survival of the race. We have to do this for the sake of the human race. Incest. And then, you know, how come? And then, what a coincidence! All these pedophiles have emerged in society. So, yeah, it'd be like the fulfillment of Christianity was its ironic destruction. And I'm wondering that if that doesn't happen, there's just gonna continue to be additional unjust mistreatment of the bisexual rights movement. So it'll be a very antichrist book. Yeah. So saying the bisexuals are not amongst the heterosexuals, or that they're not on their own as well, are both ridiculous. And you're going to find these demographical definitions are probably the result of Christian writers and religious believers writing. For some reason, again, despite the fact we discovered there's no heaven or hell, and there's, you know, the earth has a core and a mantle and a crust. There's no heaven, and there's no heaven. There's a bunch of other planets. Still, they would rather say it's more likely that Jesus of Nazareth is the Christ and Savior, a Messiah, than it is for them to admit that he was possibly a first century bilateral. Maybe he would have been a member of the bisexual rights movement if it was established at that point in history. And they'll still want to say that's less likely to be true than it is to be true that he flew up into the sky. So they would rather say he wasn't a bisexual. He flew up into space. So let's watch them win the lotto. Fucking death to fucking me. Ball tongue. Ball tongue. Take a strap, but who was it? It doesn't take the rhythm of a damn hunger. Gonna die every time I say friend. Yeah, man, come here, mate. You was not dead. I'm so fun there. It's really dark. Dun 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 dun. This is Olladale, and I scarcely got to appreciate this album before I got fucking tied up in the hit. Whoa. Oh, someone came to the door. I was wrong. Out of beer. Let it go. Yeah, so the business world thought they'd start drama with me, and I couldn't appreciate this album properly. And they should know better to get between They should know better than to get between me and Korn. They're fucking idiots. The Freemasons are fucking idiots. Like, Freemasons, I challenge you to explain why you're not unhistorical fucking idiots. You can't even tell what a forged manuscript is. Fucking you're gone without me. You can't tell the difference between a forged manuscript and a possibly legitimate one. So you become pharmacists and you're like, oh, amoxicillin, 1 TDS, is this a forged? Sorry, as I was saying, it is it's going to be a worldwide recognized opinion that the Freemasons have proven themselves to be true fucking idiots. Fucking knobshine, monger, secretive idiots who cannot tell the difference between a forged and interpolated manuscript and a manuscript potentially legitimate. Even though the forged ones are overlaced with supernatural claims. So these men go and become pharmacists, and then they go, oh, here's an amoxicillin script, 1 TDS, 500 milligram amoxicillin. Is this a forged script? Is this a forged script? Go back to your church and recognize that your church is teaching theology on the basis of accepting forged and interpolated manuscripts. Fucking idiots. Once again, the Freemasons are fucking idiots. As sure as my tongue is long, the Freemasons are fucking idiots. I just recorded the bit about the Freemasons being fucking idiots. Being such a secretive church, you would think they would have an ace in the hole. You know, something to say that will solicit the respect of their intelligence in the minds of the status quo, and earn them a bit of reverence and recognition. But there isn't. There's just you know, I reckon I could join the Freemason Church, explain to them that you cannot truly, the reason you guys are failing at martyring people properly is because you yourselves have accepted that Jesus of Nazareth was a martyr, because you've accepted forged and plagiarized texts as legitimate accounts. So you've made the same mistake as the Christians. And I could teach them to discount Jesus as a martyr, but not to stop martyring. I like martyring. I would martyr martyrs. So I could tell the Freemason Church, well, these two men have soiled the credibility of your church. Their names are Gary Cairns and Roger Tall. They've soiled they've shat, essentially, they've shat their pants, shat on the credibility of them. Oh. They've shat on the respectability of the Mason Church. Let's martyr them. Let's combine our intellects and martyr the two of them. And your church can come forward into the 21st century after we martyr the two of them. And I'll fuck them up in your church, and then I'll fuck them up in the world of pharmacy too. It'll be double whammy.
Come on, let's go, listen.
Yeah, so in no way would I say I could stake any claim to representing the collective thoughts of the bisexual rights movement. I never would do that. My book will be an extensively long-written and long-winded question. The question is, in honor of Master Bowie, should we kill for Phil the Christian theism and theism, supernatural theism? Should we kill for Phil? Do you know what I mean? Kill for Phil? Because I think I've worked out what they're doing to us. But my book will be there for you to question, and please question me, of course. I do not know if I'm right, but I don't think that's the thing, that's what I love about the bisexual rights movement. We don't really have a leader. The concept of a leader is something where perhaps is better off abolished. I love Korn and I love Marilyn Manson. Anyway, so yeah, I'll make that the prominent question in my book. It will be dedicated to Bowie, and its name will be possibly include the word Black Star. It's very special to me on a personal level. You know, for me, I can go all the way back to being a kid, and I would collect the Roger Hargraves Mr. Man and Little Miss book series, and in my mind they were a collection. Like, there was no the men weren't better than the Little Miss. They're probably more popular, commercially speaking. But I can remember being 5 and like enjoying having the collections of both. So the bilateral brain, I think it arises in society, and it's got to be protected wherever found, I think. Celebrate. Anyway. Yeah, but this could be, we won't know if this initiative will offend or impress the sovereign. It's up to us. I mean, we can say, you know, we don't accept knighthoods if we are judged to deserve them, we wouldn't accept them anyway, because then the Queen is responsible for all the criminals as well. If she can knight any of us. So it's also for her protection that we don't accept knighthoods. Anyway. Hello Instagrammers, nice to see you all. I haven't chatted to anyone in a while, so if anyone wants to babble, I'm here. I have silver nails.
I have a 10-minute break in my phone. Hey, Skeech, if you do, go ahead and change the channel. I swear I'll sue you.
Hair is still growing.
Right, so it will.
Good night. Joe's so beautiful. Yeah, that is where I do think Roger Toll's definitions are jacked and might offend gay people. Because if he has to say, he can't really say all of them. Yeah, the definition should be the description that unifies the whole lot of them together. So defining a gay man as a person whose sexual preference is towards other men, and a lesbian as a woman whose sexual preference is towards other women, is better than, you know, a woman hater, a man who is a woman hater, or a woman who is a man hater. Because it's not like the gay men who don't hate women still aren't still gay. So Roger's definition would make women haters out of all gay men, potentially. But that's why the Freemasons are known worldwide to be a bunch of, you know, unappreciated geniuses. So if you are a person with a certain mind that enjoys or finds it necessary to study the philosophers, you can be made to contend with what it's like to have supernaturalists flock at you going, well, what is it about you? What is it about you? And you never asked for them to do that. And it's not what it is about you, it's what it's not about you. Which is that you're not a supernaturalist. That's probably the simplest thing to say to them. Is that, well, could it be that a supernatural believer can't explain why they're interested in the minds of non-supernaturalists? You're not going to make me a supernaturalist. You're also not disputing my identification of your errors in judgment and the fact that I know they link to your supernaturalism. So I'm not saying there's anything particularly special about me. I'm just saying I eliminated supernatural faith and beliefs as ridiculous when in my late teens. So I'm not talking myself up. And, you know, there was some talk initially about me doing certain things for the sake of gaining other people's attention, which I thought was ludicrous because I'd spent years DJing and, you know,
the presumptuousness that these people thought I would want their attention. These owners of the chemist group. You know, you don't violate someone's privacy at home telling them, oh, you really want our attention. Like, what? I asked you to your face not to comprehend me outside of the business. While I'm at the business and you're paying me, you can give me instructions. Once I leave at the end of the shift, you can fuck sheep. Freemasons. Fuck sheep before you try to assess me. You know, since you're so celebratory of how we're just animals and things just happen and go wrong in life, you know. You believe that? You know, fuck sheep. It's just sorry, Gary. Like, you know, I won't think less of you if you stick your cock in a sheep's ass. Because we're just members of the animal kingdom, and sometimes that's the way life goes. But you know, you've got your supernatural beliefs. Live forever and shit. Okay. Fuck the sheep. Yeah, so not only was their assertion I was interested in their attention an error, I never had a conversation about why I would want to change the nature of the arrangement that I made with Roger Tall for no one in Capital Chemist to contact me outside of the stores. It was not me trying to divert their attention away from me because of anything I was doing outside of work. I just didn't want them thinking about me outside of work. I wanted them thinking about my career while they're paying me, and then not thinking about me at all personally while I'm at home. I said that directly. I said that to Roger's face out the front of Hughes, and he said, "Well, what you do outside of here is your business." I said, "Yeah, well, yeah, I'm glad you realized that." I thought at the time. So if you ask him, when did Luke tell you? Actually, no, he goes home and he longs for your attention. When did I make that assertion to them? No. I didn't even particularly enjoy it, having Roger and Gary in my crowd while DJing. Roger was prancing around in a Roman toga, thinking he's fucking Nero. Right? Did I enjoy that gig? Not really. You know, the desired music demographic was too 70s arced. It was not a particularly enjoyable gig. So how fucking vulgar. I mean, so maybe if he didn't have the supernatural beliefs in the Freemason church, maybe then he wouldn't preclude things like, oh, this citizen will say anything just to get my attention. It's like, no, maybe your deity just doesn't exist at all and never did. And your church is fucking daft. Your church is daft.